Today's episode of the Just Keep Swimming podcast is brought to you by Audible. Audible is an online audiobook and podcast service offering over 10,000 books and the ability to listen to your favorite podcasts, including the Just Keep Swimming podcast. I personally use Audible all the time and suggest you take a listen to Intentional Living by John C. Maxwell. In this book, Mr. Maxwell shares his story on how he was able to live a noble and purposeful life and gives you tips and tricks so you can do the same. So please start your 30-day free trial now at www.audibletrial.com/JKS podcast, all lowercase. Again, that is www.audibletrial.com/JKS podcast. And if you have any more questions or concerns for the Just Keep Swimming podcast, you're always welcome to reach out to us on Facebook or at Instagram at justkeepswimming_podcast, or you can email us at jkspodcast702@gmail.com. And with that out the way, let's dive into it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Just Keep Swimming podcast. This is your friend, your boy, your host, Mr. Adrian Jackson, and we're back at it again with another great episode for you. And you already know who I got with me. It's the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mr. 1-3, dropping the hot beats for the city as always. So please make sure to check out his latest projects because he's always coming out with more. So today's, ladies and gentlemen, I just had a small message for you guys. I kind of want to call it Don't Dive Too Deep. So, every morning I read the Daily Stoic, and the other day they had this amazing quote that I want to share with you guys. So the page starts off with "Stick with just the facts." And the quote is, "Don't tell yourself anything more than what the initial impression reports. It's been reported to you that someone is speaking badly about you. This is the report. The report wasn't that you've been harmed. I see that my son is sick, but not that his life is at risk. So always stay within the first impression and don't add to them in your head. This way nothing can happen to you." Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 8.49. So I guess in chapter 8, page 49 or something like that. But, the quote was pretty much saying is, do not add on to what you're thinking or to what the initial report is, because all you're going to do in your head is make it worse than it actually is. Your imagination is going to take that crazy. So for example, somebody's talking about you. A lot of times when you hear that line, the first thing we think of is, somebody's talking about me in a bad way. Somebody's trying to get me. Somebody's trying to make me look bad. Somebody's trying to embarrass me. But that's not what the report said. The report said somebody's talking about you, and that's it. It could be the boss is talking about you and they're about to give you a raise. The other business is talking about you and they want to hire you for their services. The kids are talking about you and they say you're the most amazing dad ever. So just because the report is somebody's talking about you doesn't mean that you have to take it to the next level and assume, somebody's talking bad about me, which goes to the next level of, I can get ready to defend myself, which goes to the next level of anger of, I can't believe this person would talk bad about me. I'm about to talk bad about them. And then next thing you know, now we're having a whole bunch of drama off of one little line that was taken out of proportion. And I think that is something that a lot of us do a lot of times in life. We get to this first level defensive really, really fast. And we don't have to get there that fast. We need to learn to start staying at the surface level. We don't have to dive too deep into everything that is said, every thought that we have, every feeling that we have, because a lot of times it's probably not true. Like the guy was saying in the other part of the quote, your son is sick. all of a sudden you start to think your son is dying, everything's about to go to hell. I gotta be in the hospital, I gotta pay all these medical bills. And it's like, no, we didn't say your son is sick. You know, it could be as simple as they need a Tylenol, you go sleep for a day, and then boom, they're back to normal. So let's not try to dive too deep into things and just make assumptions, because, you know, assumptions are not good for us. One of the daily rules I always practice is never make assumptions, you know, because when you make assumptions, all you're going to do is just start to drive yourself crazy and create a story that is not even real or truly happening right now. You know, it kind of goes back to, you know, work. You might have a coworker that you deal with that just seems mean, you know, oh, this person doesn't like me, they never will like me, blah, blah, blah. You know, they're just so cold and so quiet, or whatever the case may be. But then it's like, one, you don't know their full story. You have no idea where they're coming from. You have no idea what type of work experiences they have. You know, they have experience where they learn to not talk as much as at work because they got in trouble before, or, you know, they're just not a extrovert. You know, maybe they're 100% an introvert and they don't want to share stories. They don't want to talk about stuff outside of work. You know, maybe they're just not one to share. You know, maybe they're just somebody who just doesn't want to share, or, you know, maybe it could be they really just doesn't like you. But to start off with the thought that they don't like you and to put your guard up and just make your defensive high and just now make you a little more hostile in an area where you shouldn't be hostile is not good. You know, like, people always just go and run with the worst of the worst, and we got to stop just making that assumption that the worst is about to happen, so let me go and try to prevent the worst, because you go and try to prevent the worst can possibly make the worst happen. You know, it's kind of like the stuff you see in movies where you know, the guy or somebody is cheating or something like that. So then the person tries to go out and get revenge, and then it turns out that was never the case. They were planning a birthday party for him, but because the person was being sneaky and, you know, crazy, or sneaky and not acting the normal way, trying to plan the surprise, the spouse automatically assumes there's some type of dark side, and now they're on this whole dark trail, and, you know, then they do something to make themselves look bad, and then it always turns out to be like, wow, I can't believe you really did that. I'm trying to do something for you and you did this to me. And, you know, y'all seen that situation in plenty of movies, plenty of TV shows, plenty of cartoons, whatever the case may be. And the situation is always usually the same, though. You know, something is said and the person takes it out of context and their mind runs, and then now they do something that causes way more pain than it actually is. So let's try not to dive deeper if we don't need to. Let's stay at the surface level. You know, if something says, you know, okay, think about that thought, then it's time to start diving deeper. But there's nothing to think about or nothing to really complain about, don't do it. You know, like, a lot of people, we get upset off the little things. You know, oh, the cashier is moving slow because I'm in line, because they know I got a lot of stuff, they don't want to help me, so I'm complaining. Like, no, stop that. Like, you're just making up stuff in your mind. You're just making up scenarios so you can be mad and upset, and we don't need to be doing that in this world. You know, we need to try to focus on love in all aspects of life, and try to focus on, you know, just being a good human being and understanding that everybody else is a human being as well, and we're all going through our own things. You know, somebody may say something in a tone and they're just like, you know, like to be snickery and they like to be funny and like to make it seem like, ooh, somebody's talking about you, and that doesn't have to mean anything bad. You know, some people like to just cause drama, but that doesn't mean you have to dive into it. You know, you can just sit there and keep it at the surface level, keep it at the face level. So with that being said, I kind of feel that this works both ways, because if there is something deeper that you want to get across, you need to open your mouth and speak that up. You know, don't just leave it at the surface level and then get mad when the person doesn't dive deeper. You know, we can't make those assumptions again. Like, we have to assume that this person does not know what I'm talking about and explain it in the fullest if need be. If the person cuts me off and says, I understand, cool. But if they don't, then maybe we should understand it and try to break it down. You know, don't just leave it as, you know, oh, I'm mad at you, and walk off, because you just left the world full of assumptions, and the person may not know why you're mad, and some people may not even care to even figure it out because you're not being straightforward, not saying what you need to say. So maybe you should, you know, stop trying to leave the world in assumptions and be in mystery, and just, you know, go straight out and say it. You know, like, just take it off. Don't let person dive in. Just put it all on the surface right right now. So there's no point in even diving deep. Or if we are diving deep, we're diving deep for a reason, not just for assumption and trying to gain understanding, but we're diving deep to try to truly figure out the root of the problem and go on from there. If it is a problem, an issue, the root of the solution, whatever the case may be, some things don't need to be left up to mystery. Definitely when it's a simple thing is saying, oh, you didn't like my cooking last night, so now I'm mad at you all day. Like, no, just say it right now so we can move on and get this out the way, you know? So, when I was coming up with this message, I kind of thought it was a little story that I'm sure I shared with you guys before, but I just find it so amazing. I find that it relates to this message. So, it's a story about the guy that a long time ago, he robbed a bank in a city. He robbed a bank in a city and got away with it. And then he ran and hid off in Mexico pretty much for like 10 years. So while he was out there, he was living his best life for the beginning of it. But then he started to let his thoughts get to him that, oh my gosh, they're about to come get me. Anytime he saw a cop, he got paranoid. Anytime he did anything bad, he thought he was about to get caught and arrested. Anytime he was in a dark room, he thought they were about to trap him and get him. And, these paranoid thoughts got him to the point that he was like, you know what, I'm gonna get up and go turn myself in. So this guy goes back to the city in America that he robs, and he goes to the police station. He says, hey, I'm here to turn myself in for a bank robbery. And the cops are like, okay, what bank robbery? And he was like, oh, this bank right here back in this year. And they're like, okay, let me check our records. Yeah, we have no proof of this bank robbery at all. We never had any account of this bank robbery. So, we're not too sure what you're turning yourself in for. And then, the guy kind of walked up the police station, flabbergasted, because he's like, I robbed this bank, I took all this money, but they're not looking for me? Why is that? And, turns out that the bank just counted the robbery as a loss and kept moving. And they never reported it as a crime. They just counted it as a loss with their, insurance company, whatever the case may be. But they never actually reported it as a crime, so the cops were never involved. But this guy right here that, yes, he was a bank robber, and, good that he had a conscience, but, his conscience took him to turn himself in for no reason when there's nothing wrong, because they weren't even looking for him, because he's overthinking everything. He's assuming everything. He's keeping his mind in this dark place that everybody's out to get him, and, he's about to get caught. He's about to get in trouble. So that led him to doing something that technically he didn't need to do. So, not to say that if you have a cloudy conscience, you shouldn't clear it. I always suggest you clear your conscience. It's always best to tell the truth and set yourself free. But at the same time, overthinking little situations will make your conscience feel a way that it shouldn't need to be feeling in the first place. You have thoughts and assumptions that you don't need to have in the first place. So, with that being said, I hope this message helped you guys out today. I hope it made sense. But my mindset for this message is this: take it surface level. There's no need to dive all the way in. No need to always jump to conclusions. Just take it for what it is right now. And if it has to lead you to, okay, let me dive deeper in the situation, then dive deeper. But if it's not necessary, don't waste your peace on it. Keep your peace, keep your happiness, keep your passion, keep flowing, and just do what you have to do best, because some people are here just to wreck your peace. And at the end of the day, that's one of the only things that we can control is our peace. So let's control our peace, let's control our happiness, let's control our mind, and let's just keep swimming. With all that being said, I hope you have a great day, a marvelous afternoon, a splendid evening, and remember to just keep